Skul the Hero Slayer is a 2D roguelike developed by Southpaw Games, the same company that's responsible for BSTG on the Google Play Store. I don't know what this is, but it has 10 plus installs, so that seems pretty good. So, Skul. It's a game, alright, but I know what you're thinking. Mason, you said this was a roguelike. Well, I already own Hades, and that's the best roguelike ever made, because looking at Nyx makes my pee-pee hard, and looking at Dusa makes my pee-pee hard, and looking at Zagreus makes my pee-pee hard, and I'm straight. So why on earth should I buy this one? And while I do agree that Hades is a masterpiece and Supergiant must have literally gone to the underworld and made a deal to make a masterpiece that's as good as this shit, I do have one simple, indisputable fact that absolutely puts Skul on the same pedestal as Hades. Maybe not quite equal, but you know, pretty close, worth the buy. And that is, Skul is a skeleton. The basic plot of Skul the Hero Slayer is that humans have come to attack the Demon King's castle, taken everyone hostage, and killed most of the soldiers. The only survivor is the smallest skeleton soldier, Skul. That's you, the little boy. But this is a roguelike, and roguelikes entail starting over, which means that you will be dying a lot. And I mean a lot. Like, even once you've played this game for hours, like the bosses and even the mini-bosses will wreck your shit on a regular basis. And man, if you see this stupid fucking ninja boy is your first mini-boss encounter, man, you might as well restart your run right there. My brain is too fucking smooth to fight that man effectively. So that's the story, and it's fine. It's whatever. But let's look at all of these pretty flashing lights and colors behind me and figure out what's actually going on gameplay-wise. This right here is your health bar. You know, the thing that goes down when enemies hit you. Below that is your resource bar. Some Skuls have resources, not all of them do. Some resources go up when you hit enemies, some go down, some charge up over time, but they all go here. Back to the up, we've got your skills that your Skuls have. Now, all Skuls have at least one skill. Some of them have 2 skills. That's pretty cool. Most of the skills have cooldowns, some of them use your resource bar. They also all go right here. Over to the right of that, we have your lovely effects, everything that's on Skul right now, either helping or hurting you, which we'll go over more here in just a second. Above that, we've got your quintessence. These are active items that you pick up throughout the run. Usually they do cool stuff like slowing time or spewing acid over a bunch of guys. Finally, if we go all the way back to the other side, this here is your other Skul. That's right, you can have 2 of these things. So, all Skuls also have a skill when you swap to them that does something special. So we're about to get even more complicated, right? You have all of that stuff to keep track of, and we haven't even talked about items yet. So items in Skul are pretty special, of course. Skul has 9 item slots that you can make your build with accordingly, and you'll find these items throughout the run. So all items have an effect, of course, but along with those effects, you also have 2 inscriptions. Inscriptions are bonus effects that get progressively stronger the more of them you collect. The more items of the same type, the more powerful those inscriptions will be. But since your inventory is limited to 9 slots, like I said, you really have to pick and choose what items fit into your build, because you might find a really cool item with a super great and awesome effect, but it just doesn't fit into your build because you could not give less of a shit about Volcano passive. It's so bad. Now, an interesting way that Skul makes the game a little bit easier is through mitigating RNG. Now, any roguelike that relies on chance will of course have an aspect of randomness, hence the RNG. But the way that they mitigate it is what's important, because having a terrible run because you just got screwed over by random items and skulls isn't very much fun when it happens over and over again. So, the key is to reduce that chance as much as possible, and Skul really makes it possible to do what you want to do. Twice per stage, you will get to go to the black market, a place where you can pick up items like food to restore your health, other quintessences, some nice free skulls, or items to work into your build. And items are great and all, but the most important aspect of the game is by far finding a good skull early. Since all of these skulls have their own unique skills, some are just more powerful than others. A legendary skull will always be better than a common skull. But that doesn't necessarily matter either. As you progress through levels and find skulls that you don't want, you can break them down into bones. At the end of each mini-boss and boss stage, there's a character waiting for you there named Arachne. Arachne will take the bones that you give her and upgrade your current skull, which means even if you start the game with a common skull like the Carleon Recruit, you can upgrade it throughout the game all the way up to a legendary. After each boss that you defeat for the first time, you'll also be able to free one of the Demon King's generals. These people will wait for you at the start of runs and give you like a little bonus that'll help you out. Anything from getting free skulls, to free items, to just a permanent buff. Or a mostly permanent buff. It goes away after like one stage. This probably isn't actually that helpful unless it's like the gold bonus. The gold bonus is really good. Not only that, but as you progress, enemies and bosses will drop more and more of a resource called Dark Quartz. Every time you die, you'll go back to the start, to the Demon King's castle, and you can talk to the witch that will allow you to use your Dark Quartz to permanently upgrade Skull's abilities. Very nice. This way, by finding new people to help you out at the start of the game and upgrading your character over a long period of time, it makes it always feel like you're making progress and never feels like you're just stagnant. Even if you get stuck on the same boss for an extended period of time, you're still making progress because defeating enemies leading up to that boss will allow you in the long run to slowly upgrade your character. So now that we've gone over some parts of the gameplay, let's look at the actual gameplay itself. Overall, Skul is really nice to control. You know, you can jump, dash, double dash, slash, smash the ground, kill the enemies throughout each level. And you can do this really quickly since the controls are so tight, which is good because you have to defeat every enemy on a stage in order to progress. Now, the stages themselves come in a randomized order, but they themselves are not necessarily random. For example, like, there might be a secret passage here one of the times and not the next, but the stage itself otherwise looks the same. That might sound boring to some people, but I quite enjoy getting used to an environment and just being able to speedrun through it. Also, the speedrunning part is important because we're about to talk about the difficulty spike. Now before I start this section, if you're at all interested in this game, go play it yourself. I think it's $20 on Steam right now. It's worth a buy. Otherwise, the good news is the story isn't that important for the game itself, so we're about to enter major spoiler territory, anything past this. So the first stage and the first boss are complete speedrun material. They're easy, you really shouldn't be taking that much damage. Whatever, not a big deal. The second area, although much harder, is also pretty speedrunnable. The boss of that area, these two gals right here, are a real bastard at first, but once you get used to their attack pattern, they're not so much of a deal either. But then we get to the third area. And oh no. Let's go back a little bit to the first mini-boss fight of the game, right? It was probably something along the lines of, oh man, this adventure is so mean. Oh my god, they called me stinky, and they shot an arrow at me, and I got hit, but it only did like 10 damage, so yeah, does it really matter? It's no big deal. Alright, I win. But then, let's flash forward to the boss of the third stage, and instead of that, you get something along the lines of, oh my god, oh no, what is that thing? Oh, is that acid raining from the sky? Oh no, that attack hits the entire battlefield. Oh no, did he just snipe me with a screensaver? The third level, at least in my opinion, is where your run is decided. If your build is good enough to beat Chimera, you're doing pretty freaking good. Otherwise, it was time to restart anyway. You're gonna lose if you just barely beat Chimera. One game mechanic I neglected to mention earlier is that enemies can also hurt other enemies, which sounds good right up until you take into account the area leading up to the Chimera fight, the Black Lab, the third stage. Here, almost every enemy explodes after you kill them. And since enemies can damage each other, this frequently sets off a chain of explosions, and these fuckers can just kill you. Like, straight up. It's really annoying. Also, these fucking thick-ass alchemists keep throwing Taliban ghosts at you that do the exact same thing, but there's 100 of them. If you successfully defeat Chimera, you enter the Fortress of Fate, the second to last stage. Now, enemies can feel a lot different here, because almost all of them have super armor, and it can be really, really hard to avoid damage. But that's okay, because you're much more well-equipped than you were in the Black Lab, what with your new items and skulls. So that's actually not that big of a deal. The main difference here is actually the mini-boss fight. In previous stages, the mini-boss fight just added one additional adventurer each time, so you fought one person, then two, then three, whatever. When you reach the Fortress of Fate, it's just one adventure, but they are significantly powered up. Like the Cleric, who previously was one of the easiest mini-boss fights in the entire game, now becomes one of the hardest. All of their attacks can zone off an area of the battlefield. They have huge AoE effects. Some of them just, I don't even know how you're supposed to dodge this. I have no idea. Again, brain smooth. After you get through the Fortress of Fate, you fight the boss of the area, Archbishop St. Joan II. Right? That's the second? Yeah, the second one. Anyway, first stage of the boss fight is honestly probably the easiest of any boss in the game. It just spawns a bunch of dudes and you have to whack these balls. Whatever. The second phase is a rat bastard. Also not that hard, but it really puts your platforming skills to the test. The ground beneath you turns into this constant damaging zone, and you're forced to hop around on these little fucking platforms while these giant wheels of light keep trying to fuck your day. It's super annoying, and you'll probably die a lot on this boss. But it's not that hard. You just think it's hard. Get good. After St. Joan blows himself up because he tried to spite God, you enter the final stage of the game, the Sacred Grounds. The Sacred Grounds is the easiest part of the entire game. This is just like build-up. It's not even a big deal. All you have to do is hit these guys that pretend to be walls. I've never even seen what their attack looks like because they die that fast. The important part isn't the stage, it's the boss. You have to go fight the first hero of Carleon. The first hero is, as expected of a final boss, by far the hardest fight in the game. His first phase is super fast, jumping all around the screen, but it's mostly ground-based, so you can kind of keep in the air and cheese him a bit. Still really hard. His second phase is where the fuckery begins. Oh my god, everything is faster, wider, hits a bigger area, does more damage. This guy is insane. The second phase is where the boss fight is. Like, you have to dodge perfectly, you have to beat the shit out of him as quickly as possible. Your attacks have to be on point if you beat the first hero. It's very difficult. After that section, the first hero is the only boss in the entire game to enter a third phase. He throws away his sword, he smashes the ground, and it comes down to good old fisticuffs. But here's the thing. This third phase is super easy. This guy deals barely any damage, he's not as fast, he doesn't hit as wide of an area. It doesn't feel like you're beating him, it feels like he's just hopeless by this point. He's given up. He has nothing left to fight for. He's fighting down to like the last atom of his being, and it feels so sad because you are just wrecking this guy's poor shit. He just stops and coughs up blood a couple times in the fight, like he's not having a good time. And you know what? That doesn't make you feel like you've won when you beat that phase. It makes you feel sad. And that is good game design. I love this stage of the boss fight, because up until this point, you think that you've been doing the right thing by trying to save the Demon King, but as the first hero fights and is slowly dying, he's talking to you, and you realize he's not a bad guy. He's just twisted by his loss. He doesn't want to kill the demons because they're evil. He wants to kill the demons because his own people hate them so much. They're conducting these horrendous experiments and backstabbing each other. His people are the real monsters. He's trying to save them by destroying you. This is beautiful, Southpaw. Good fucking job on this boss fight. It makes me feel legitimately sad to, like, watch this guy try to fight for his people. It's really sad. After you beat the first hero, you win the game. Hey, who gives a shit, right? We've got more gameplay to talk about. Here's the important part that everyone always needs to know, is the soundtrack. What is the soundtrack like? I'll tell you what it's like. These tracks are beautiful. When you start the game, the soundtrack starts off really nice in Forest of Harmony, with a nice kind of relaxed, kind of happy feeling almost, but then as you get closer and closer to your goal, it gets more and more intense. Also, all of the boss themes are really, really good. My favorite probably being the second phase of the first hero, which is called Incarnation of Light, which is just absolutely banging. But the two absolute true bangers of this game are, number one, the title theme, which is just beautiful and I love it, and second, the mini-boss theme, which I'm going to save for the end of the video because I am going to actually jam to that shit. Also, the artwork in this game is just phenomenal. Like when you find a legendary skull, you find this giant pile of skulls with this tree growing out of it with a crucified skeleton at the top, and as you get closer to it, this beam of light comes down from the sky and it, like, illuminates. It's just beautiful. The area leading up to the first hero has these glorious pixel art statues in the background that make me question how this is even done in pixel art because it looks so good and detailed. The characters in the castle all have, like, really detailed models that show off their unique personalities, and all of Skulls have unique animation for all of their skills and also all of their dashes, which is insane. Also, the enemy animations are just beautiful sometimes too. Like, look at this move that the first hero does. These giant golden swords of light all are falling down from the sky, and he just grabs them and, like, teleports back and forth and beats the shit out of you. This is pixel art. This is made with pixel art. This is insane. Also, the Goldmane Knights have jiggle physics. I'm just saying, it's impressive to do in pixel art. It's impressive. So, now that we're close to the end, I've pretty much gone over everything that I wanted to in this video. So now I'm just going to kind of gush about the extra little polish that went into the game and the things that I really like about it. For example, my two favorite animations are probably the two legendary skulls. The Grim Reaper's Reaping Slash, which is gorgeous, and also the Neo Samurai's Full Moon Slash, which is also gorgeous. Gaining 5 fairy type inscriptions will summon the Fairy King Oberon, and boy, this man fucks. Yo, he fucks hard. This ability hits the whole ass screen and deals a shitload of damage. The Mad Alchemist only appears for the very first time that you fight the Chimera boss, but when his own creation kills him, the Wilhelm Scream is played. Finally, the personality of characters, like I said before, are made abundantly clear by their models, but the Death Knight loves to knit, and the Witch will frequently ask for cat food. And with that said, that's all there is to it. I sincerely hope that Southpaw Games continues to update at least for a little bit longer, add some more skulls and items maybe.
Hi, hello, it's me, Mason from the future. Sorry for the poor recording quality. My last headset mic broke. Anyway, just wanted to hop in here and say that a week after I completed recording for this video, they came out with a huge new patch that added new items, an entirely new NPC, new synergies, and boss items, and also, just last week, came out with entirely new maps for each zone, which is insane. So I guess they're gonna keep updating it, which is super cool. There's more planned updates ahead. There's also new content being added in future updates. It looks like we're getting a new Game Plus and a new stat interface. So this is kinda rad. Anyway, cool. Bye.
That'd be awesome, and it would give the game a lot of replayability. It already has a ton, but if you like what you've seen here, I would go pick it up on Steam. It's 20 bucks, super affordable, whatever. It's great. It's worth it. Like, I love this game. And with that being said, you made it to the end of the video. Here, have a gold star. I love you. Thanks for coming. And, you know, with all of that out of the way, it's time to finally get down to the business I've been putting off all video, and that is to listen to Adventure of Harmonia. Thank you for watching.